Okay, so from a hormone perspective, when we starve ourselves, hormones go up and hormones go down. And so our stress hormones go up when we starve ourselves. It's a natural part of being an animal, is that the cortisol and adrenaline that is released is designed to give us the energy to go out and get food, because we need it for fuel to be able to live. Ghrelin is, I like to think of ghrelin as like our gremlins. That's our hunger, the sound of your stomach making that rumbling noise. That's your ghrelin hormone being released. That is a physical response telling you that you're hungry. And so learning, the more that we balance our blood sugars, the more that ghrelin response becomes balanced. And then when we feel the gremlins kicking off, then we respond. And the challenge that we've got with our clients is that if we're eating, say, a lot of ultra processed foods, a lot of junk foods, and we're not eating in a balanced way and we're eating too many carbohydrates, ghrelin will be out of control. And so we think we're hungry and we're not. The other thing to remember is that ghrelin is also produced when we're thirsty. And so sometimes we think we're hungry and actually we need a glass of water. We're actually thirsty. So it might be a skewed hormone response in response to needing water. And dopamine, lovely dopamine, which is our neurotransmitter it's our satisfaction and our pleasure. And so this comes down to like enjoying. I was so interested that dopamine goes up when we're starving and when we're really hungry, because this is where we start to see that actually being in a place of starving ourselves can be quite pleasurable. I was really surprised to learn that when I was researching the hormone interplay between regarding disordered eating, is that sometimes the feeling of being hungry is quite pleasurable, and which drives people to stay hungry or to get back to that place of being hungry. And so then we've got our hormones that are coming down when we are starving. Leptin, which is our hormone that helps us feel full. CCK as well, which is cholecystokinin, also goes down. That is also to do with pleasure. It's also gut motility. It also moves all of our digestion through, and also feeling full. It's sending that message that we are full. Insulin goes down. So insulin is primarily our blood sugar response to sugar in the blood. And our estrogen, progesterone, testosterone goes down. So there's our sex hormones. They naturally go down when we're starving. And so this is when we have a female client who maybe is not having regular periods, one of the questions that we can be asking is if you're eating enough. Because if they're not eating enough, then estrogen, progesterone, testosterone are going to go down. Serotonin, which is again is our feel good, it's linked into melatonin, which is sleep. So this is why sometimes we see with sleep issues that people are waking, it's because they're hungry. And when we're trying to get underneath menosomnia or insomnia, sometimes having a bedtime snack or a midnight snack can be beneficial as long as it's balanced, can actually help with that serotonin and melatonin response. Feel free to chip in, by the way, Crystal. Binging, on the flip side, actually binging because you're starving and you're then putting food in and then you're vomiting the food up, the hormones are going up and down and up and down. What I think is interesting is when you look at studies, binging can be more common in the lateral part of the menstrual cycle, in the luteal phase, where estrogen, progesterone, testosterone is going up. So as our hormones are increasing, binging is more prevalent. So binging, again, cortisol and adrenaline, when we've got a disordered eating pattern, it's incredibly stressful for the body. If we're starving, it's incredibly stressful. If we're binging, it's incredibly stressful. Insulin compared to the starving is now going up because food is going in, and so the blood sugars are responding to the food that's going in. What can be incredibly confusing for the body is if they think that food is going to come in and then it doesn't because you've sicked it up. That starts to really mess with the messages. It's one of the reasons that we recommend that people don't chew gum, because you are releasing digestive enzymes, acid, and your digestive hormones and your insulin when you have that action of chewing, the body thinks food is coming, and when food doesn't come, those mechanisms start to shut down. And with binging, what we're seeing is the blood sugar hormones go up, estrogen, testosterone goes up, which is our inflammatory, they tend to be more inflammatory hormones. This is why we can see that people who have this binging estrogen can be more of a weight gain hormone. It's when we can see that people who are binging sometimes aren't losing the weight. That's not that weight loss piece is maybe not, and especially if they're in a stress place, the body is going into, I must store fat because I don't know what is going on with food intake. And dopamine's going up. So again, it can be quite addictive to be binging. And so this is the cycle that people can get into. And progesterone, which we bang on about, is going down. So your ghrelin, serotonin, and progesterone is going down. Progesterone we're super interested in. Progesterone is our natural calmer. So it is common that we are seeing with any kind of starvation or binging, that anxiety, people can show a lot of symptoms of anxiety because we haven't got our calming hormones, because we've got our stress hormones in abundance. And so anxiety can be an additional symptom that we're seeing with any kind of disordered eating. Before I go on, is there anything that you want to add to any of that?
No, I don't think so. The only thing that comes to mind is with the binging is obviously, if we're talking eating disorder, to the extremes of the binging and purging versus the binge eating disorder, or the kind of one obviously with purging, one without. But equally, the one with the purging can include laxatives. So thinking of kind of all the bowel implications with like the CCK and stuff like that as it's going through, and just that utter confusion of the body. And the association within that. But I love the fact that dopamine is just in both. I think that sums it up really, is that, again, it comes back down, doesn't it, to different people, different body reactions. Like, actually, we all have the dopamine response in some way. It's how our own kind of bodies react to that. Some people will enjoy that feeling of being hungry. That gives them their dopamine hit. Others, it absolutely won't, and their dopamine hit will come from putting the food in. So at either end of the scale, the dopamine hit is still coming, and sometimes it can be our job to kind of figure out where's the kick coming from, what part of this brings that dopamine, and how can we look at other activities that are going to bring a dopamine response that doesn't involve the starvation or the food. But,
I think that these slides can be incredibly empowering, to be able to sit down with someone who's got disordered eating to explain that this is not just an emotional, mental, nutritional perspective, but what is happening in your hormones is that binging and starving can be really addictive. Yes, the processed food can be addictive, the food intolerances can be addictive, but actually this way of eating can be incredibly addictive. And what we can offer, which I think is so empowering, is that we can get underneath these. When we understand the chemical hormones, and if we can start to balance those hormones, and we're doing the coaching and working with the mental and emotional perspective, then we can really start to help change this cycle, these patterns of behavior, which I think